Hello everyone, Darcy Bono here, and in this video I'm going to introduce you to an absolute game changer when it comes to dry brushing. Now if you've ever tried to dry brush smooth or rounded surfaces such as muscle or folds in fabric like in a cloak, you've probably been met with some pretty chalky and disappointing results. Even in the Citadel app, the dry brush option looks very dusty. The good news for you is that I'm going to show you my secret weapon that allows me to dry brush these larger surfaces very quickly and much more realistically than the usual dry brush. I use this on all of my ice jaws, my ogres, this necromancer you see here. All of these pictures you're seeing now, the smooth surfaces were done using this dry brush technique. And this miracle tool is in fact a simple makeup brush. As you see here on the left, we have a concealer brush for the larger brush, and then we have a smaller eyeshadow brush. Now the reason these makeup brushes are so ideal for dry brushing a rounded surface is because of their shape and their texture. They have much softer bristles as they are made to be applied to skin, and they're also rounded. These two features give you a much more subtle color transition, a almost fade effect in your brush stroke, whereas the traditional dry brush is much more linear. Now I'm not at all saying completely abandon your flat dry brushes and use these makeup brushes for all your dry brushing. You're definitely going to want to hold on to your traditional dry brush because they're ideal for textured surfaces, as you've probably seen. They are perfect for fur, for feathers, and for stone, things with edges that the paint can easily catch on due to the shape of the brush. So now that we've covered the what and the why, let's move on to the how, the dry brush demonstration. You're gonna love how easy this is. So here we have a Deepkin Soul render, or part of one anyway, and in this video we're just going to be focused on the fabric. So to get it to the point that you see now, all I've done is base coat it using Incubi Darkness, and then I followed that with a shade coat of Coelia Green shade to get this nice deep hunter green that you see. Regardless of whatever color you're using for your cloak or muscles or what have you, the concept stays the same. Start with a deep shadowed color, and then you're going to do your dry brushing in a brighter, bolder color. In this case, I've created a midtone color by mixing Incubi Darkness with the brighter Ariman Blue. Make sure to get most of the paint off your brush and do not thin it at all, otherwise you could end up with a very nasty smear. Now there's nothing special or difficult you need to do when you dry brush using makeup brushes. It's the exact same brush stroke as with the traditional flat dry brush. You're just going to lightly flick the brush over the raised portions of the model, and right away you start to see this great bolder gradient that builds up on the edges. So you're just going to continue building up that slightly bolder color until you're happy with the density and the coverage of it. You're going to want it to be fairly heavy and look something like this, because in this next step we're going to take an even brighter color and gently dry brush it again, not quite as heavy as before, just so enough of that deeper blue shows through, but the lighter color is still very evident over top. In this case, I'm going to be using just straight Ariman Blue, no Incubi Darkness mixed in this time. I'm going to lightly graze it very gently just over the tips here. And the general rule of thumb when dry brushing with these makeup brushes is simply the lighter the color you're using, the lighter your brush stroke needs to be. So we went kind of heavy with that deeper, bolder blue, and now that this brighter Ariman Blue is in play, I am just very lightly grazing it. I'm not thoroughly coating it like I did before. Now, as with any technique, you're not going to be able to use this on everything. These makeup brushes are ideal for dry brushing a convex surface, a surface that goes outwards, whereas the front of this miniature has a concave surface, a recessed surface that goes inwards. You're not going to be able to use the makeup brushes in there because there's nothing to catch the paint on, basically. So I'm just going to go and use a layering technique for that. I'm not going to show you that in this video because that's just not what this video is about, but the completed model will show a similar fade, but done a different way. And here we have our completed model and our lovely looking fabric there. And the only thing I added that I did not show in this video was just an edge highlight of Ariman Blue on the most rigid parts of the fabric just below the waistline. But otherwise, that was entirely done with dry brushing using our makeup brushes. So it's a very simple technique that provides incredible results. So thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to give me a shout. I'm Darcy Bono, and as always, happy painting everyone.